Hey, it's me, GV, and unfortunately, Fallout 76 is a disappointing mess. You know, today I was actually going to upload a Fallout 76's Hidden Treasures, and I didn't. Instead, I made an audible and decided to actually just give a full opinions video. My true thoughts on the game, which I have expressed in various forms, sometimes way too much on one end. I remember specifically playing the Xbox One beta early on in the beta life for Fallout 76, and I was super hungover and in a bad mood on a live stream, and I just tore into it. And I remember I deleted that video that I uploaded because I thought I was way too harsh, and I thought the game didn't deserve it. And now I realize that I was probably being kind. Now, I wasn't even going to make a video like this because I figured everybody else would do that. You know, the channel's known for reviewing games would do that. And lo and behold, the entire internet did that for me. I mean, the entire internet has been ripping into Bethesda and Fallout 76 non-stop since the game's release. And in my opinion, for good reason. At least mostly. I think people on the internet have too much of a habit of being way too much on one end without giving any recompense to anything good about the game. And there are good things about Fallout 76. There's good things about every game under the sun, but there are some definite, significant good things about Fallout 76. The problem is that the overall package is absolutely a shit show. I'm going to go over everything in greater detail throughout this video, but I just wanted to say I think the problem with this game at the forefront is that they charged $60 for it. They charged full price for a game that wasn't finished, a buggy mess, and in my opinion, the biggest issue was that it just directly borrowed the skeleton of Fallout 4 and applied a gross multiplayer coat of lipstick over it. It is of my opinion that if this game had released for $30 to $40, if it was $40, I wouldn't be happy paying for it, but at least it wouldn't be $60. I think that they would have avoided a lot of the issues, or at least a lot of the hate that has been brought up. If they marketed this as sort of a $30 upgrade to Fallout 4, some sort of giant mod. I mean, you could even call it an expansion. I don't know what you want to call it, but if you just marketed it as that, I think this game maybe could have had some level of success. I think people still would have hated it, considering that, you know, Bethesda makes great single-player, huge, sweeping RPGs, and that's what I want, and I'm assuming that's what most people want. I've heard tell that people really want to co-op Fallout. I mean, I play Borderlands for that. When I play Fallout and when I play Elder Scrolls, I want it to be singular. I want it to be single player, and I know there are people that, yeah, genuinely do want co-op, but I want a single player experience like Starfield or like the Elder Scrolls 6. So the problem here is that they tried to sell us a game for $60 that was marketed and touted as being a brand new game, when in reality it was just Fallout 4 with a multiplayer coat of paint sprayed on top of it. And if you enjoy this game, if you like this game, that's fine. I'm not going to deride you, and like I said, there are things to be found in this game that are enjoyable. But I don't think anybody can argue with the fact that $60 for this game is an absolute joke. When it comes down to it, it really feels to me like Bethesda really just wanted to jump on the bandwagon of all of these live-to-service or live-service video games. You know, something that's always on, that can always be charging money, where players can always be spending money. And the Adams shop, by the way, is a complete joke. A lot of cosmetic shops are in video games. Some of them do them well. In my opinion, League of Legends has an excellent, quote, cosmetics, unquote, shop. Their skins are absolutely phenomenal. The people that design those skins really do a great job. But for Fallout 76, I mean, it just feels like literal costumes that you could find in Fallout 4 for free that now they're selling to you. And so to me, yeah, it all comes down to Bethesda trying to jump on this multiplayer live service bandwagon, but they don't really have the experience to do that, and that's clearly evident here with all of the missteps they've made in terms of PR and in terms of, obviously, the game. Now I'm going to go into the different aspects of the game as a sort of faux review. I'm sure most everybody listening to this already has their opinions set on the game and its gameplay elements, but I like talking and I like talking about video games, so I'm going to just give my opinions on each of the main aspects of the game. Starting with graphics, which in my opinion is one of the better aspects of the game. I know people constantly are complaining about the graphics, the pop-up issues, the graphical issues, just overall, the lighting issues and everything like that, the lighting slowing down their rigs and everything. But I happen to think just overall, if you look at the aesthetic of this particular Fallout game, it's quite beautiful. I love the smokiness. I love the woods. I love how there's so much, I'm trying to think of the word that starts with an F that means flowers, flora. Yeah, there we go. I love the look of this game. I don't know if it feels particularly Fallout, considering obviously most of Fallout is very, very apocalyptic. But I don't know. I think this game is very pretty in the right circumstances. There's, of course, all of the negatives, like the borrowed assets from Fallout 4, some of the Fallout 4 textures and Fallout 76 textures looking really outdated and, low rendered, things like that. But I think overall, honestly, this is easily the best Fallout game in terms of its looks. And if you can see past some of the graphical glitches and everything like that, I think that it's honestly quite beautiful in a lot of respects. Now, of course, I've had my fair share of graphical issues. In fact, as you'll probably see in the gameplay at some point, there's going to be a ring around me that just blinks constantly in the trees, and that has remained my entire playthrough. It seems like 50-50 whenever I load up the game if there's going to be that, and obviously that's not good. Obviously, also the water not showing up. I've had my fair share of stuff that people have complained about online, but to me personally, bugs and graphical glitches have never completely destroyed my gaming experience, and not even has been something that really gets under my skin unless it's really, really bad. For instance, in Fallout New Vegas, I wasn't able to ever complete the quest where I believe the boomer named Jack, you're trying to get him hooked up with some girl, and he would always get stuck in the mountain. Now, that's awful, of course, and I could never progress that quest. But as far as game-breaking stuff in Fallout 76, the worst thing is during the beta, my entire PC progress was reset after the first day. And that's the worst thing I've seen so far, and maybe you can make an excuse that it was in beta, but I haven't had too many, game-breaking issues yet. But as far as the graphics as a whole, I actually like them. I think that they're quite pretty, and of course, yeah, it's Bethesda, so there's a lot of issues, but they don't really mar my experience too much. Let's talk about the big one, gameplay. This is disappointing or par for the course, depending on your tastes. I feel like the gameplay was literally ripped directly from Fallout 4 with almost no differences. Of course, you got different weapons here and there. You've got different gadgets and things like that. But overall, this game feels literally exactly like Fallout 4 to me. The jumping, the gunplay, how the gun just kind of feels nice, but at the same time, I don't even know how to describe it, like the 10mm pistol, when you fire it, it's got this huge kickback to it, and it's very Fallout 4, if that makes sense. And that's either going to be a good thing or a negative thing to you. To me, I did like the gameplay of Fallout 4. I thought that they buffed up the gunplay. The jumping feels weird and floaty, but it's, again, they're taking Fallout 4, they're reapplying certain things to it, and they're charging $60. And to me, that's insulting. It's insulting that they wouldn't make any main or important gameplay changes rather than just taking the gameplay from Fallout 4 and applying it to this game. Now, of course, you've got all the multiplayer aspects to it, but in a lot of cases, I feel like they've been degraded. A great example, of course, is VATS. I don't even understand the point of having VATS in real time. I wish they would have basically said, the technology hasn't been invented yet. I understand the technology was made by Vault Tech before the bombs actually went off, but it just feels awful and weird to use VATS in real time. I'm sure some people like it. I absolutely detest it, largely for the reasons that you hear around the internet, mainly being, of course, that it can go from 95% accuracy down to 0 just by the target constantly moving. And just certain things like that. I mean, it seems like they've tried to fit a square game into a circle hole just to get the multiplayer tacked on. overall, I thought I was going to have more to say about the gameplay, but realistically, it's all the same as Fallout 4. I mean, it all feels the same. Of course, there's differences, such as no NPCs and just a billion holotapes. I guess I should talk about that. I'm sure this is going to be another thing some people like. I absolutely detest it, is that they've put the entirety of the story in holotapes and in terminals, and that normally would be fine. There is so much, and I feel like they just didn't even care that you can't even really read the stuff because there's always shit attacking you. Constantly, there's always something going on. You cannot pause the game. It's a multiplayer game. And I literally, I mean, if it was just short little blurbs, I would try to kill everything in the room and try to get, the story for that particular location and move on. There are so many holotapes, so many terminal entries that you can't. You would literally have to full clear wherever you're at and then sit there for 10 minutes reading and listening to everything, probably even longer. And I mean, I just don't have any motivation to do that whatsoever, especially in a game that feels like this, that feels like a weird faux Fallout 4 DLC or something. I have no interest in the story, and, maybe that's my own subjectivity, sure, but I just really dislike how the stories are told in this game. I thought they were perfect in Fallout, where you could pause the game, you could read the terminals. The terminals were, it doesn't make sense that a ghoul's like frozen next to you, but you could still read everything. You get the full story, and there weren't as much entries. I feel like they just went super quantity over quality with this, producing so many terminal entries and holotapes that you can't even listen to because, say you pop in a holotape, oh, I'm really curious about this particular location, and then you walk into some weird event, and boom, you got a dude just talking entirely over it. You can't even hear it. Then you got to start from the beginning of the holotape. It feels like they just applied that system to this game without even realizing that it doesn't work, and that, again, is insulting. It feels so weird to not talk that much about gameplay, but honestly, I don't have anything to say. You have your crafting, you have your camp building and everything like that, but honestly, it is what it is. You go do a quest, you explore a dungeon, you loot a bunch of stuff, you condense it down, then you build it into a chandelier or some shit. If that excites you, that's great. I don't even think that's a negative aspect of the game. In fact, that's probably the most fun that I've had with it so far, is like building stuff for my camp and setting it up. I just don't think that, again, an entire game can really be built around it. I've written down to talk about story here, but honestly, I touched on that with the holotapes and the terminals. Everything is told entirely through robots, holotapes, and terminals. And to me, that's incredibly disappointing, to say the least. I like NPCs in an RPG, and I get that this is an online game, but I would much rather have NPCs any day than have other people running around and doing weird emotes and taking selfies and shit. That's not Fallout to me. And so the way that the stories are told, some of them are good. I've actually listened to some of the holotapes and read through the terminals all the way through for certain locations, and some of them are actually, they're dark and they're moving to some extent, and I was surprised by the quality. But a lot of them, I, again, just don't have time to read. I mean, even if I wanted to, there's like 100 ghouls in the room with me, and they're all smacking me around. I kill them, and then some more will just spawn. And I just, so, I mean, the way that the story is told through that, and then outside of that, I mean, there's really nothing. It's Reclamation Day. You're a Vault 76 resident. You're out there. You're reclaiming. You follow along. You're out. Your overseer who tells you, here's how you should eat dog food to stay full. And stuff like that. I mean, that's really where it ends. There's tons of responder stuff. There's a whole bunch of West Virginian lore, but I just don't really feel attached to any of it because of all the reasons that I've talked about before. Like I said, there are gems. You'll read through some stuff and you'll be surprised and you'll think, wow, okay, that was pretty well written. It just feels like Bethesda hired or used a whole bunch of writers to just create tons and tons and tons and tons of stuff to spread out all over the wasteland. And if that's how you like, getting your Fallout story, then you'll like this, because there's literally, again, there's a million notes, a million holotapes, a million terminal entries and stuff like that. I just much prefer, obviously, talking with NPCs, talking with actual characters, and then reading the terminals, and then listening to the holotapes, but not like 3, 4, 5 at a location, just maybe 1 or 2, just reading maybe a couple of passages on a terminal, that sort of thing. The last thing I wanted to talk about was the online interactions. Now, for anybody that knows me, you know that I much prefer to play games single player. I'm always playing single player games, whether on Twitch, whether on YouTube. I just like single player experiences. You know why? Because I love 100%ing games, and I love playing games at my own pace and really trying to experience every single thing about the game. And so I really do not like multiplayer games for the most part, at least not today. There's some League of Legends I've played a lot of, and now Smash coming out I'm mega hyped for. But overall, like something that takes a single player experience like Fallout and then applies it to multiplayer, I never wanted that. So I'm already in the camp where I would much rather just play by myself, or if anyone, it's going to be my girlfriend, and that's pretty much it. And then maybe, people on Twitch if we set up like a gaming day or something like that. And I gotta say, man, even given that I am much more, inclined to play by myself, the multiplayer from the start has just felt janky and phoned in, and that's entirely what this whole game is based around, right? The multiplayer experience. I feel like this is a poor man's Borderlands. Like, you're doing very boring fetch type quests, which, in all honesty, is a lot of what Borderlands is anyways, but with like half the fun, and if you want that experience again, wait for Borderlands 3 or play another game that's like that does it better than this, because really all it feels like, again, to me, is that they patched in a $60 upgrade to like be able to do Fallout quests with other players, and those quests aren't even fun, in my opinion, or interesting for the most part. They have the whole emote system, the whole photo system. You can play a banjo while your friend takes a picture, and that all just screams not Fallout. Especially if you played the two originals, which the first one I have a series on, and then the second one I'm doing a series on now. And then, of course, I played 3, New Vegas, and 4 for countless hours. And none of this feels like Fallout to me, and none of it is what I wanted. In terms of PvP, it's pretty damn standard. If you get a leg up on your opponent, you win. If they get a leg up, they win. If they're higher level with better stuff, they're going to win. If you go after a wanted person, same thing. If they're higher level, they're going to win. They're going to kill you. You'll get some scrap, which they'll just find anyways if they just go into like a building for 10 minutes. None of it really feels important. None of it really feels, I don't feel motivated to fight players or anything. I don't feel motivated to trade with players. I don't feel motivated to sit in a circle and do weird emotes or spend atoms for emotes or anything like that. And again, that's me. There's going to be people that absolutely love that stuff. That is just not me. And the stuff that is there that you can do in terms of multiplayer, I think is just bare bones, integrated, fine, and then that's about it. So let's conclude here. I'm pretty proud of myself because I thought this would take like 30 minutes, but I'm only at 17, so I got some time to conclude. This is not the game that I wanted. Never wanted Bethesda to make this sort of thing, and the fact that they did is fine. I remember telling everybody, my stream and my girlfriend, and even my family was interested in like, there's a new game coming out in your niche that you're going to cover. I told them all like, well, I don't really like the fact that it's multiplayer. I have a bad feeling in my gut that it's going to be sort of like, Sea of Thieves, which I've never played. But I've obviously heard the backlash, and I can understand the sort of setup that the game is set up with, the gameplay loops. But I said, Bethesda's usually good, and if they have their Bethesda polish on it, then it might just be fine. And unfortunately, this was the game where Bethesda took a huge step back in terms of quality control, in terms of bugs, in terms of PR nightmares. And it's just a disappointing mess, And you'll hear that from a lot of people on YouTube that, again, I think go far too vitriolic with it. This is my complete, unbiased opinion. Yes, I'm a Bethesda YouTuber currently. Yes, I've been doing Bethesda stuff for a long time, but I am not going to sit here and not call them on their shit. And this is just a disappointing mess, something that I have zero motivation to play. Literally, I'm playing Earthbound on the SNES Classic my girlfriend got me for my birthday. I'm playing Red Dead Redemption 2. I'm playing Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu. I'm playing Diablo 3 Eternal Edition on the Switch. And I'm going to be playing the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate coming out on the 7th. And I have zero motivation to play this game over any of those things. I would rather play any of those things, and it's disappointing. And so, yeah, that's pretty much all of my opinions on this. Basically, where do we go from here? Well, It's going to be a long, long wait until Starfield. Everybody's talking about Elder Scrolls 6 all the time and asking me questions about Elder Scrolls 6 as if they don't realize that Starfield's coming out first. And I just hope that if Bethesda was intending on taking any shortcuts with Starfield, that this is going to be an eye-opener and that this is going to make them say, okay, let's take the extra time and actually fix this. Let's take the extra time and implement this correctly. I really hope that that's where this goes, so something positive can be brought out from this awful game. And if that happens and Starfield releases and it's awesome, then hopefully my faith and enjoyment of Bethesda games will be inflamed once more. But as it currently stands, I feel like they have been making so many odd choices lately and so many weird backsteps that they're just not, in my eyes, the same company that they have been. But that can change. I just really didn't want to see them make an online game like this with a stupid cosmetic shop. Oh, man, what year are we in? But anyways, those are all my opinions on Fallout 76, ladies and gentlemen. As far as content on this channel, well, it just doesn't seem like people are that interested with the game anyways, on a whole. Like, even if I made hidden treasures for it or guides or anything like that, I think people as a whole on the internet are not interested in this game. And as you know, obviously, after watching this, I am not either. So, anyways, thanks for watching, and the last thing I want to say is you can argue with me or do anything in the comments that you want. Just be respectful. If you are not respectful, you're going to be removed, because I love discussion, I love debating, but you can be respectful about it because I'm being respectful about it here. These are my unbiased opinions. I have no agenda for liking or disliking the game. These are how I act. These opinions are how I actually feel about the game. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. And tomorrow there will be a big ol' Oblivion episode uploaded. It's gonna be like 2 hours. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.